you. So we've got 13 games left of this season. That's still more than a third. So a lot of points still to play for. If we're thinking about the Champions League, it's pretty much assured that it's going to be down the top 5 again this season. So how do you see this race, Daniel, right now from Liverpool's perspective?
I think that as the manager will definitely have decisions to make on stylistically how he wants to move forward. Of course, fitness issues will have their impact, but Chelsea and Manchester United at the moment are high on confidence, feeling themselves, and Liverpool I think their confidence level isn't where Chelsea's and Manchester United
Chelsea
is.
won 4 out of 4, Man United won 4 out of 4.
Yeah, and I think if you look at how they set up today, maybe we could look at the positivity of the setup and go, OK, yeah, maybe they went for it because of the occasion and the fans. But I think if I can't see them playing that front. They need steel in midfield. They do. They can see too many counter-attacks. They can see too many opportunities. This is not... We're talking about Virgil van Dijk being the top of all, a lot of statistics, headers, this and that, intercept. It's like Virgil isn't up there usually. You know, defensively, they are missing something in there. I don't think the midfield right now, and this isn't me having a dig at them, but I don't think that they are defensive. I still think they're offensive-minded players in there. And I think they do need someone who's going to be like, my job is to just run around and make tackles and break play up, and that's what I need to do, and let the guys play. Because the attack and the creativity, there's no question there, but it's stopping the attacks, it's breaking it down. There's no defensive midfielder in there that this is my role, I'm out here to stop things. And that's what the best teams have. So,
Jamie, do you think then, in reality, Arne Slot has got to fight on to save his job here or get himself another season? Just paraphrasing what you said on Monday night in terms of Liverpool reaching the Champions League next season. Top 5 will be necessary unless they go and win the Champions League themselves.
If you said to me, do I think Liverpool get in the top 5, I'd say no.
You don't think they will?
Not right now, I don't know. They'd have to have a huge upturn in form, and the ones above them, as Daniel just said, are in great form. But that was my opinion of the situation, that I think it'd be difficult to defend the manager or from staying in a job if you miss out on Champions League football. I haven't won the title the season before, but it was really interesting. There was a round table discussion, I think, a few days ago, between Billy Hogan, the manager, and Richard Hughes, about basically
with key journalists.
No, it was. I think it was for Standard Charter. It was for the club, and it went out. And in some ways, I think, and it was. They spoke about the issue they'd had this season, the difficulties, transfer-wise, and the problems that they had. And I think most supporters have looked at that and almost seen that as almost a statement from the club to say, stop talking about the manager. He's our man. He's our man, and he's going to stay, which is absolutely fine. So it doesn't really matter what we say on that. So I think I see the manager staying almost no matter what. I mean, if Liverpool went out very early in the FA Cup and the Champions League, that might be a different, kettle of fish. But I think that chat and some things you read about, sort of, there's a big article there in the Sunday Times, you read things and obviously little information's getting given out at different times, and it looks like they're backing their man.
Don't you think, though, sorry, Dave, if Liverpool play like they did in the second half in terms of how aggressive they was, we just saw the chances, I think the second for chances created, they must put them shots away. There's got to be moments where they're going to get over the line. It was sort of the contrast of two Liverpool. You mentioned Liverpool, how they was. In the first half, Man City dominated the ball. They sat back a little bit, tensive in the way they did things. Second half, when they had a go at City, that's when Liverpool are at the best, especially here.
And we shouldn't forget, Mike, that Alexander Isak is to come back at some point. We're not sure when.
I think Liverpool get into the Champions League. I think the manager's still figuring out what he needs. But if they play like they did in the second half, I think they'll be fine.
But the strength and depth's a problem, isn't it? Because obviously we're talking about United, for example, no other distractions. Liverpool have still cup competitions. And the manager said in his interview there when he didn't feel he had to make changes because the team were doing well, which they were. But when he did look over his shoulder, if he did want to make changes, the options weren't great. And that would catch him out.
I think Liverpool have won 5 league games since September. So we're almost how's he going to fix, or what team's he going to pick, or what's he going to do? It's continually sort of asking questions.
Sunderland unbeaten at home still. That's Wednesday night. And then the next 3 are against teams who are currently in the bottom 4. But do you see hazards there, Daniel? Because they're games that
any
Liverpool are
game
expected
in
to
the
win.
Premier League is going to be difficult. So we can't, all opposition have their tools and things of that nature. Liverpool don't have a problem creating the chances like we've talked about. It's about taking them. The players that they've got up front are top players. We're used to seeing Mo score 15, 25, 30 goals. He's on, I think, 4 Premier League goals right now, so he's not at the level that he's been at. Ekitike's come in, he's done what he's done. He's got his 10 goals. Gakpo, he's not been as consistent as he has in the past. Isak's out, and I think collectively, Wirtz is pitching in, but I wouldn't say he's a goal scorer, like you're gonna rely on him to score goals consistently. So I think all in all, when you look at the attack, you got Rio on the bench, a young player, and a few other guys. They've got to step up. These are top level players we're talking about, guys that the chances that are being put on the plate for them, you would expect them to score them. Maybe it's collective confidence too.
Yeah, the confidence would certainly come into it. When you mentioned earlier, Jamie, about the late goals they're conceding, that'd be a reflection of the squad. Because we know a lot of games are won and lost in the last 10, 15 minutes, particularly in the Premiership, where it's physically hard and mentally tiring. And if you haven't got them options to come off the bench, that quality, when you compare, for example, Liverpool's bench at the moment to Man City's or Arsenal's, they're way behind. And that will reflect on the late goals and the option the manager wants coming on late in the game.
We'll just leave that there a second, that graphic, Jamie. This is what you were talking about before. The joint most in Premier League history, winning goals conceded 90-plus minutes or later. And a lot of those other teams, I'm guessing, would have dropped out of the league.
Yeah, I mean,
in those seasons.
I mean, that's awful. And Roy's right, a lot of that is to do with the makeup of the squad and the strength on the bench. And anyone who's not a Liverpool supporter watching this, will be probably screaming at the TV thinking, you spent 450 million in the summer, and they've got a point. How Liverpool have got themselves in a situation where you look at the squad, and people talk about injuries Liverpool have got. Not loads of injuries. Even when at the start of the season, when everyone's fit, you still got a couple of kids on the bench. The squad was never strong enough. I mean, as I said, you look at those sort of other teams, they're probably teams who got relegated. And Roy's right, games are won in the last sort of 10 or 15 minutes. But the amount of times, and it was a little bit different today, Liverpool have actually got an equaliser in those games. You think, go on and win the game. Bournemouth was a perfect example. And go 2-2, you go on and win the game. That's, every top team does that. The great teams who win titles do that. Liverpool did that last season. You don't then go lose the game from that position. It's a shocking statistic.